Hello again, everyone. Melth here. Should be a fun episode this time. I'll be taking on Bernard, a pretty interesting boss, with some added challenges besides my usual ones, which of course you can see in the YouTube video description, and also talking about some very secret items I bet not everyone knows about. So let's get into it. Watch out for spoilers throughout this run. Alright, here we are back at where we just finished killing Filro. This is the first time I played since patch 6 came out. I wanted to wait for it to be made less buggy, because I heard they broke a lot of things, and I've had to do a lot of hotfixes since then. Let's read Filro's insane rambling notes, which won't tell us very much. And what does Le Boingzel want to talk about? Okay, this happened like 6 episodes ago, so this is definitely a bug that she's bringing this up again now.
How dare he speak my queen's name? How dare he dishonor?
Let's just get this buggy competition out of the way. Wow, what a waste of a super roll.
I am a...
Okay, we've seen this stuff before. Let's actually get rid of Glut. Part of my challenge will be able to do this fight against Bernard without using Glut and the Boule. It's super fun to have one boss fight against another boss like that, but it makes things easier, so we won't be doing it.
For its failures, come to the...
Alright, get out of here. Next part of the challenge is I won't be using Gravity. He's on a tower top, Bernard is, along with all his henchmen, so it's super easy to just throw him off to his death, but I won't be doing that. And the third thing is I won't be using the Sussur blooms to incapacitate him, which otherwise basically makes all his minions completely helpless. So that would make things too easy. We are at long last over here able to get ourselves the Sussur bark that we set up to acquire on a quest ages and ages ago. So we can make the Masterwork weapon, which as I mentioned before is, if you got it early in the game it would be pretty good I guess, but you tend to get it like super late in Act 1 because it's not easy to come here early, or natural at all. I think there's one more up above, too, that'll also grab. These Sussur blooms are pretty interesting. So you can see that while carrying them, you can't cast spells, except when you can. For example, I can cast, I think, reapply Hex even when I'm in the area. Other supernatural abilities work just fine, too. Only spells are ever affected by it. People sometimes think you can, that you can shut down enemy special abilities with it. It does nothing to most enemies. It only works in certain predefined ones like animated armors, which have an ability that makes them weak to it, or blocks spellcasting in the area. So, interesting, but not quite as good as people think. Also, it used to be, although they're destroyed when you leave the Underdark, it used to be there were various bugs and exploits you could use where you could keep them with you forever, and shut down enemies into later acts, which is pretty neat, but would definitely be the kind of thing I would not do in this no-cheese run. Also, from what I've read, they patched the last of this out in patch 6, so probably no longer possible. Alright, let's loot the last of these. And then let us have a starting walk elsewhere so it doesn't block us from casting guidance if we do speak with dead here or anything like that. And let's talk to Filro. So most undead will just refuse to speak to their killer. He will refuse unless you make a conversation check for whatever reason. I guess his beloved was one of those monster horror things. How he went so loony, I'm not entirely sure. Like, Dorn was crazy too, but more in like the, just he's an arrogant twit kind of way. Which he probably always was. This is a surprisingly rational, cogent reason for staying here. I don't know why he had this idea that never had another good idea in his life, but that's seemingly the way things were.
Thorgrim. Dorn.
So we've already fought and killed, well, we killed Dorn, and Zargrim we found already dead. And this notion that only one of us can find it is just classic Drow. Drow are just pathological backstabbers and traitors. They can't work together for any kind of purpose for more than like 5 seconds, which is why they never accomplish anything. I say it's a guy disguised as a Drow, not a real Drow.
Location was Dorn's time.
Which we already know like twice over in character, so I don't know why we asked about this.
Of the Guardian.
And he basically knows nothing of value about it, really. Now, this conversation is cool for setting up tension for the upcoming fight against the Guardian, but like, everything tells us here is really obvious, and we also find the 3 other sources that say the exact same thing when we get there. And also when the boss fight starts with the Guardian, like the first thing we'll see is that it walks into lava and gets vulnerable to heat. And like So nothing we learn here is actually of any use at all.
My pack found me. Fed me.
Almost good design there, but something's kind of missing a little bit, I think. Gnomes are probably quite tasty, except that they're probably have their fingers just covered in weird alchemy stuff that Cheryl is dabbling with. So make sure to wash their hands before eating. Okay, so these are more notes that tell us nothing of any great value, really. Some scrolls, which we might get some use out of. And the icy crystal. So this is the final piece of a really neat secret item. If you combine the icy helve, which a helve, by the way, is a synonym for a haft, basically, and the icy metal and the icy crystal, we got one of each of which from Zargrim, Dorn, and now Filro. We can make a really neat, unique staff called Mourning Frost. Let's talk about that. So Mourning Frost is really cool, both in and out of character. It does a few things here. So one of them is it gives you the Ray of Frost cantrip. Now, you see me use Ray of Frost. It's a genuinely pretty good cantrip sometimes, because slowing down the enemy is a decent little control effect for, basically no cost when you aren't doing a big spell that turn. The trouble is, which classes want to cast Ray of Frost? Well, usually just sorcerers and wizards, really. Like, maybe a lorebird would have some use for it occasionally, but pretty much every other class in the game either is a warrior character of some kind, or has just other better options. I don't know, maybe a cleric? So just my point being, people who want to use it probably already have it, or have easy access to it, so just getting it from the staff is not that great for most characters. Now this one, Heart of Ice, sounds really cool too. Seems very comboable. Whenever you do ice damage, you do 1 more ice damage. The trouble is, unlike fire damage or force damage or whatever, there just aren't that many ways in the whole game to do a large number of ice hits to add this onto. Most ice spells are a single big hit, and adding +1 to it doesn't really do much for you. I guess in Act 3 it's a pair of gloves you can get that plus a d4 cold damage unarmed strikes, but that's Act 3 we're talking about. By this point, doing +1 cold damage is nothing, so that's really not that great either. It sounds cool, but just there isn't really a great way to use it. If this was fire instead, or force or whatever, then there'd be uses for it, but for cold, there just aren't many ways to combo that. And then Insidious Cold here is hard to talk about because they don't give us perfect information here. So first of all, in the save possibly, what they really mean is a DC 12 Constitution saving throw to resist getting the chilled status. So that's a pretty easy save to make, unfortunately. Now what does chilled do? Well, it makes the target vulnerable to cold damage and resistant to fire damage. Now that probably just sounds just worse than wet, and that is just worse than wet, especially given that wet is basically, no save to inflict, whereas this has a saving throw. So that would be pretty worthless on its own. A secret thing they're not telling you there is that if someone is already chilled and then becomes wet, and order matters here. Wet and chilled is no good, but chilled then wet works for this. They then automatically become frozen. Now frozen is a really neat status. A person who is frozen is incapacitated, and also they are vulnerable to bludgeoning and force and I think thunder damage. 3 damage types that are quite powerful, and it's hard to make people vulnerable to them normally. So that could have some utility. You could maybe set up someone to be first chilled with this, and then wet, and then blast them really hard with force damage or whatever. But there's some problems with that. Number 1, if you hit them with anything they're vulnerable to, it instantly ends the effect. So you can get only 1 big hit, I guess. So that's not really that great. Number 2, and a bigger problem, it doesn't actually incapacitate them at all, because it lasts only 1 turn and it ends at the start of their turn. So they're incapacitated for 0 turns. So it basically does nothing. So I won't call it worthless, but I will say it's absolutely not worth the trouble of setting it up compared to other ways to make enemies vulnerable to things. So, disappointing. I feel like there's probably an oversight that ruins what would otherwise be a really interesting item. Okay, I think we've looted everything here. Let us send Astarion alone with... Who is the Sussur bark? The blooms are useless for this, let's give him the Sussur bark. Okay. We'll have him pass the blooms over to Ballista.
How delicious.
Then let's have him go back to the Blighted Village to finally finish up the Masterwork weapon quest that was started ages ago. As I mentioned, if you got the quest reward from that early on in the game, it could be pretty good, but by the time you're likely to get it, you already have vastly better weapons, so it doesn't shine as much anymore. But let's complete the quest. It is a very neat quest. Yeah, maybe if the part of the Underdark we could access from here was near that Sussur tree, maybe that would be a better outcome. but oh well. So over here is the forge, or the furnace. Oh no, the furnace is melting. Better get there fast before it melts too much. Give it some oxygen, and now I can put in the Sussur bark. Was this already used? Yeah, it was. Okay. I guess I should just add that to wares and sell it. So the forge is now blue. And kind of arbitrarily, it has to be a greatsword, dagger, or sickle, which is contrary to the diagrams that I mentioned we found early on in the game, which shows some different weapons in there. But in any case, let us give him a dagger. I think one of us has one of those. I would say greatsword is a terrible choice, just because, well, several things. One of them is just, you know, greatswords in general are bad because they take up 2 hand slots, so that's inconvenient. Also, you can't use them with dexterity, so that's inconvenient too. A sickle would be okay, but again, like, you want the versatile weapon that can be used with dexterity, so it doesn't do that for you. The dagger's probably the best choice because you can give it to more characters. And you want to be able to give this weapon to multiple people who can use it situationally when it's valuable, rather than having it bound to one particular person who might have better things to do that turn. Expert forging technique there. Just toss the dagger into the coals and hope for the best.
The weapon from within the flames. The flames sputter away. The dagger is yours for the taking.
It's another neat weapon there. So, of course, the cool thing about this is that it silences the target on hit. Now, of course, we can just cast Silence, but Silence is a level 2 spell. That's not always convenient. And enemies can walk out of the Silence bubble. They can't necessarily walk out of the Sussur dagger, you know, that they have been silenced by. So that is worth something. Now, you might think you can throw the dagger to silence people, but you must never, ever do that. 2 reasons. One is there's a bug where the dagger will just be lost from the game forever if you try it sometimes. So, not ever worth it. Number 2, it just won't ever silence them. Ever. Basically, when you throw a weapon, it almost never does its on-hit effects, so it's just kind of worthless. So, all in all, the dagger is very, very situational. I like the idea of it. I will keep it around because there will be times I want to silence people, but it's not as good as you might think. Okay, let's get back to the Underdark Beach and then head over to the Arcane Tower to fight Bernard.
Let's get going.
Okay. Yeah, let's give the Sussur stuff back to Astari. He's kind of the least spellcasty member of the group. Again, I won't be using it in the actual fight, I just want to talk about it with minimum disruption. There is one more Sussur Bloom in the tower. There's a total of 6 in the game, as far as I'm aware. You get 5 in that one area, or 4 in that one area that we just were from, 2 in the Arcane Tower, but one of those has to be used to actually turn the Arcane Tower on, so ultimately 5, which is plenty. You never really need more than, like, 4 to shut down all of the enemies, basically, in this fight. So, and you'll never need more than that ever again. So here we are back in the Arcane Tower. I think we haven't read this book before, Evil's Ascent. Various books in here give you lines you can say to the robot on the roof, to then have him do various things. If you say this thing, he'll kill you. Now, I don't really like that aspect of the quest. It just seems to me, although you can come up with a reason for it in hindsight, that compared to the other lines of the play, some of which are similarly ominous, no particular reason for this one to be the one where the robot randomly tries to kill you. It just feels kind of out of nowhere. As I said, you can make a justification for it in hindsight that kind of makes sense, but like, you can do that for some of the other lines of the play too. So I don't love that. Alright, let's have a story and pick up that last bloom. And then I won't pre-buff here, I'll just walk up onto the roof and we'll fight Bernard fair and square after being surprised by this robot up there.
You sound so damp like a pressure break. Is it the foe? That foul, contemptuous heel?
So if you have not already read the books, this can tell you what the response would be, basically. Anything other than this makes him immediately hostile.
Come out of love for me.
So Bernard, of course, was a companion made by Lenore, who made the tower, because she was really lonely after, like, her dog died, and Ire, her lover, left, because of some kind of silly squabble. So if you say this, he brings you the guiding light ring, which gives you access to the basement, which we've already actually, you know, been to. So, not that important for us. but if you don't already know how to get there, it's useful for that purpose, I guess.
Seems like
Let's
a good
talk to him again.
to talk.
Command as you see fit, my lord, my liege. Of course, my lord.
So talk to you as if you were Lenore.
What can I do?
Kind of sad to program a robot to give you hugs and not be able to tell you from anyone else, but
You're strong.
I think he also gives you a healing potion here, as I recollect, which I won't be using, of course, but
I'm always here for you, and you will never walk this path alone.
I think while this is going on, the other party members are expecting trouble as I go to do this last line of dialogue, basically. So, let's take care of what they're doing. I won't be doing pre-buffing stuff here, but I will, to demonstrate a couple things, have the ravens fly away elsewhere so they aren't pulled into initiative order immediately. As I mentioned before, in this arena here, you can use gravity a lot. If you do like a thunder wave here, you can knock these people right out through that window and they'll basically just take enormous damage and either die instantly or be, incapacitated and easily finish off later on in the fight. It is a very tough fight though, and I want to experience it as a very tough fight. So let's look at the enemies here. First of all, some of them are on high ground, so that's not easy to deal with. I love the arena here, which has different sets of high ground, some of which can be, have the ladders. The ladder can't be destroyed, but you can block the stairs and things like that. We have these animated armors here. So they have extra attack here in Tacticians. So they get 2 attacks, and they do decent damage given that. And they have massive armor class too. If you can hit them, they die pretty easily, but hitting them in the first place is not easy to do. Note that for some random reason, they are vulnerable to the Sussur blooms, but Bernard is not. He doesn't have this ability. Also note that even though they're, just like empty suits of armor, for some reason, poison damage is not totally immune to, as you might logically expect, and they don't have any resistance to necrotic either, which you'd probably also expect, and they don't resist weapons, unlike Bernard, and it's very arbitrary and bizarre in 5e and in this game, which enemies do or do not resist various effects. There's no logical coherence to it whatsoever. Now, Bernard is dangerous too. He doesn't, as I can recollect, have extra attack, but he does hit pretty hard. He can do massive lightning damage in an area of effect with this, static field around himself. And he also has a legendary action that does AoE damage with lightning. Or not really AoE, just like, it's a chain lightning effect. It jumps from you to other targets, basically. And most problematically for us, he has alert. So even though we have better initiative than he does, it's not better enough that we can guarantee beating him in initiative. So my plan has to be versatile enough to account for that. Alright. Let's ungroup everyone. Sure, fine. Just walk over hereabouts. I want to demonstrate how the flowers work, but I won't actually use them. So let's have you over here. So if I walk over here next to these guys, you'll see the armor is just shut down and become incapacitated. Likewise, if I drop the bloom near them, or just dropped off one bloom, for example, near them, they're now just incapacitated even if I walk away. So you can, as a free action on the first round of combat, just like have people spread out and drop those blooms near everyone and take out everyone except Bernard, and then it's pretty easy. But again, I won't be doing that. I'll leave it over here at a safe distance where it shouldn't be in anyone's way. Alright. Getting back to what actually probably happened in character, I imagine it's going something like this.
Let's kick in.
They're kind of standing around wondering what's about to happen, and then I quote this line from the play and all hell breaks loose.
Within its wake, it tramples everything. Go kill the rest, so that the one can thrive.
I don't really like robots or the science fiction things in fantasy. He's clockwork, which is something... Oh, beat him in initiative. That makes it easier. So I might be able to actually just kill him outright in that case, but I think it'll be safer and easier to not do so, demonstrate another technique instead. Let me show one interesting little quirk here. So, let me have Shovel walk around behind the guy and attack him from behind, just to show something here. I'll probably die, but it'll provoke his legendary action, and that's worth something. But then also, note that he uses legendary action and blasted his own guys with it. So, just wanted to show that trick there. Wait, did he even... Why did they show little damage to Shovel? Wow, lucky. Like, the damage isn't that great, and more it just will add up over the course of a long fight, but still, that was lucky right there.
Time to strike.
Okay, well, I want to cast Bless, but I also have other things that you need to do. I think the first thing I should probably do would just be see what my chances of hitting there are. Not great. Let us get up here where we have high ground, I think, then.
I've got it.
That's a bit better. In that case, I will probably have everyone else gather up in the high ground too, and then we'll take things from there.
No choice but to keep going.
Maybe not you. And can you be hit with Bless from there? Yeah, you can. That's just fine then.
Time to strike.
Yeah, maybe I better have her not be up here too much because she could get some use out of gravity, which I don't want, because they said I would use no gravity whatsoever, not even for throw damage. But in any case, what we're going to do now is have you cast Bless on, let's go with you and yourself. Then we're going to fire away with that, decent chance to hit, baning him.
Behold the dance.
And then, this robot, for no adequately explained reason, is vulnerable to Tasha's hideous laughter. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright. I guess I might as well just poke one of these guys. That does end my Hex effect, but, you know, it's still worth something. Oh, you know what? If I set him up for that low HP, then I can finish it off with this attack and get another action. That could be worth something. Yeah, I'll try that.
The dance macabre.
So, Astarion, if you shoot this guy, he will probably live at low HP. Let us try it. Nice. Okay. So you're guaranteed, if you hit the guy, to get another action, which you can then, you know, blast away with. Ah. That was improbable. Oh, well. So in that case, you run up here, I would say.
Watch this.
And you need to get some kills. So let's have you... I can't get to that guy? Weird. Alright, go for that one then. And then finish him off. Now you're invisible. The ones that are the most threat are the ranged ones, of course, just because, you know, they're ranged and therefore can hit me more easily.
Yes.
I might save the 1 HP guy to be a free, easy kill for someone else later on.
Where do I go from here?
Alright. So now what we're going to do, we've got a bonus action attack we can do with her, possibly.
I will not know failure.
No, okay, fine. And then we're going to shoot an arrow of darkness here and cover ourselves like that. So now all the guys across the arena can't actually fight us at all. Well, I mean, they can if they close in, but they can't do it fast, which gives us time to mop them up. We can't see either, but we already did our actions. Arrows of darkness are great. Oh, he made a saving throw immediately. That is highly unlikely. Shovel will probably die. That's fine. He was just kind of there to demonstrate a point. Usually he'll fail saving throws because the chance of failing was like 80 or 90% basically, but he got very lucky. I can recast it, of course, without any great difficulty. I could also have like a bird fly down and waste his legendary action, but I don't think I need to in this case.
Can't even catch my breath.
You guys can't even attack me as far as I'm aware, so I can probably use that, but... I could also use the chance to get some free hits on him before I damage him further.
Nothing important is ever...
If I first have like a bird, for example, fly over here and try to blind him. I forget if he's one of the ones that's immune to blind. Some of them are not immune to blind. Okay, can't reach destination, it's literally right there. What are you talking about? Okay, there we go. So he's blinded, then he can't actually use his legendary actions. This is a comparatively free turn to just pummel him.
I've missed this.
I can maybe give you an Oil of Accuracy. Might be worth a bonus action to set that up, so I can actually hit the guy more reliably. Although 96% against him is pretty darn good. Now the trouble, of course, is that he resists, you know, most types of damage. So that's not as great damage as it might look like. What's your HP? 1? Okay.
I wonder if this is worth the cost.
Are you hittable with... Walk a little further away. A little further. There we go. Finally got that kill. Okay, don't think I actually want to... Well, if I push him back, it'll be easier to hit from other sides, so maybe I do want to push him back a bit, but just not out the window. This should do full damage to him. I'd love to do, you know, necrotic to him too, but yeah, I'll settle for this. Okay.
Victory awaits.
I'm kind of sacrificing a Raven here just to make my point, really. But
Let's turn someone inside out.
let's have you fire away at that guy with 1 hit. And that did 2 attacks, because I forgot that I have stupid mode turned on. That feature should absolutely not exist. I call it a feature. That terrible idea of a game mechanic should not exist. And I can't even turn it off now while I'm thinking about it. We want to dispose of that guy.
Let's go.
We probably also, while he is still baned, want to hit him with a Scroll of Tasha's Hideous Laughter, I think. Since we have one of those, just take him out again. So you are probably a better choice for that job, since you don't have anything really better to do. You have a wizard level, so yeah, it's on your list, so this is fine. One of my rules is that I only do that if it's on my list. Okay. He'll have a higher chance to recover this time because he won't be baned anymore by the time it ends, but he is also getting worn down, so that's okay.
In position.
Get into the darkness there.
For peace. I'm coming for you.
Get into the darkness there.
Ascend.
Now I want to take that one out with some combination of Astarion and... Didn't I just have a good line of sight to him? Come on, give me that back. I know it's available somewhere here. Okay. There we go.
I am fury. I am death. Taking position.
Just to not be using gravity on a technicality, I'm going to, I don't know, do Ray of Frost or something instead rather than throwing an object at this guy, even though that's what I'm much more better built for.
Fuck yes.
That's fine. Those are replaceable. And that was more for demonstration purposes than anything anyway. So if he was hit again here, he'd probably blast his own animated armor once again. Or I could just have someone like this go over here and, you know, trigger the fight that way.
Have to keep going.
I could reapply Hex now. Now if he blasts me with, his lightning effect, and I, as a result, lose out on that newly concentrated spell, that would kind of be unfortunate, but I think this will probably be okay. That should do good damage to him. Still laughing? He does not resist that very well. Alright. But we better finish off the other robots, I think. I keep forgetting to turn that off.
Swift and lethal. Taking position. I Goodbye forever, pal. My turn.
Might have gotten a little bit careless and cocky here. I could easily have hidden the darkness and whatnot, but I was just trying to show off more tricks. So that guy's immune to blind, that's fine. I'll fly in here and peck that one. Okay, now who do I have that's left? You already have, you have one shot left. That should be plenty, I suppose. There we go. And then we don't, at this point, want to give a new saving throw to him, even if we do inflict Bane on him again. So I think we better not do anything further. Just wait and pass our turn. Okay, there we go. He made a saving throw, but that's fine. So, his legendary action doesn't activate if you hit him with an AoE blast, is one important thing to note. A few other ways you can negate it, too. You can also just not care that much about it.
I am fury. I am death. I am fury. I am death. On the move.
What is my best way to take no damage while sticking by the arbitrary rules that I've set for myself? He's got 25 HP, so if I blast him away, you know, I'm likely to do not quite enough damage. Almost, but not quite enough. I'll do have lightning charges, so I might actually get there if I'm lucky, but it's, you know, I don't want to bet on it. Something like 11 damage, 17 damage, plus another 2d6, 24. Yeah, it actually would probably work on average.
Done.
There we go. Oh, critical hit. Probably not necessary, but it did it. Okay.
No traps.
A fight pretty well done, I would say, given all the rules that I set for myself, and just all the things I'm trying to demonstrate there instead of just doing a straightforward battle. Now, there's another fun secret item to loot in here. Let's grab that before we finish off everything else in the area.
Watching me.
Oh, and let's also, of course, bring back our familiars.
Enough waiting. I crave blood.
Well, that's Scratch. I could get Scratch, I guess. I'd rather have another Raven, though. Ravens are usually, I think, superior. Scratch does have value, of course. But being able to fly and blind people is, like, hard to top.
Blackets will be done.
So give him Long Strider. Give you Long Strider. And then turn invisible.
All is ash and meat.
Okay, so here's the neat thing. Over here, there's a random stool. People probably won't even notice. So apparently, patch 6 changes. I was so confused about that. They switched up where its position was before. Now this stool on the side is the one that you want. Basically, if you sat on it before, it would tell you that you felt strong while you were on it, then if you got off, you'd lose it. So it was very secret before because there wasn't a clear indication about it. Now there's this thing here. So, a little bit more obvious. So we destroy it, and there we go. The Club of Hill Giant Strength. It's pretty interesting. Basically, while you hold it, you have 19 strength, which is a functional equivalent to having 18 strength for most purposes. Now, we already have some party members who are effectively using elixirs to have good strength to throw objects with, basically. So, you can use this instead on certain characters, and that's pretty good. To free up your elixir slot for things like bloodless elixirs. So, it has some utility for the right party. I won't use it right now because I already have an Elixir of Cloud Jet Strength going for Leiboing Zell this time, but I might consider it for maybe someone like Karlach next time. Or if you have things like the Titan String Bow, it can be a good setup for that, because it can then free you up so you don't need to actually invest much into strength. You can have a decent strength to add to your damage with the Titan String. So, it's a solid, very secret weapon. And apparently it was moved around for some reason here in patch 6. Alright, let's loot the rest of the stuff and then get out of here. So Light of Creation here is a cool, but I would say pretty much worthless weapon. It's a glaive that does lightning damage, but also has a chance to stun the wielder, and that is absolutely never worth the risk. Now, there's a set of gloves that can let you count as a construct once per, like, short rest or something like that you can get later on. You know, allow you to just wield this pretty basic and unimpressive weapon, but not even close to worth it. I can't think of any good utility for it whatsoever.
useful.
Might just grab all the broken machinery for lightning elixirs, which this is kind of the last time you'll find a lot of lightning damage for a while, so very limited utility. This is the thing you need to say to get him to give you the medium healing potion, which we just looted off his corpse, so that's fine. I knew there was something you said that would make him give it to you. I just kind of got it mixed up with the hug dialogue, I think. Alright, let us grab back those blooms, we'll take them with us, and then we'll head off to our final big section of adventures in the Underdark as we go off to the beach and set sail across this black lake. There to find Nier and deal with the Dwargar and Grimforge and the Adamantine Forge. Should be a ton of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for watching, everyone, and a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Macy3131, Frank Maidens, Master Knight DH, Jackie, and Lino, George Grin, Travis, Carlo Andrea 97, Cthulhu's Mom, Andrew Curzon, Trubsy, Gregory, William Wakefield, Danny Hall, Jeffrey Morse, Just Becca, Jack, Austin Livingston, Mashas01, Jacob Marshall, Nubiana, Till Fisher, Latinx, Discord Colossus, Nicholas Schmuck, Kostya Nesterovich, Luke, Frederick Bruin, Govan Blackrock, Dodo King 4, Marcin Bialik, Mavith, Techno Waffle, Nebular, I Loop, Michael Francis, Emperor Kong 420, Robert Mackey, Micken Balls, Daniel Seta Chikajo, Stilton Flamey, Micah Murray, Lloyd, Shang Chen, Christopher Allen, Stefan Van Zyl, Eddie, Kaimu, Wendy, and Ali Kasamoglu. Have a great day, everyone.